now that now that I got that out of my system, I think it's about time we review this beautiful game we have here. Okay, after spending about 12 in-game hours, and I'm going to, according off the PlayStation, 22 hours and 4 streams, we finished Ninja Gaiden 4. And I just gotta outright say it, this is probably one of the best action games I have played in a very long time. I am saying that right now. In an age where we don't get enough proper action games, this hits different. Now, this is coming from somebody that, from pure Ninja Gaiden experience, I only ever played the first one, which was Ninja Gaiden Sigma on the PS3. Now, I know purists are gonna come out here and say that's not the actual original one, but that's the first one I played. I remember making it to the Nunchucks guy when I was really young. Never could beat it. And it was just the demo, it wasn't even the full game, for God's sake. But this is the first Ninja Gaiden I've ever beaten. I would always, growing up, I would always pay attention to it as they went on. But around the time, I was more a Devil May Cry kid. That's what I grew attached to, more in terms of, like, action game stuff. So I never really was into Ninja Gaiden. But I always appreciated it from a distance because it was in the same vein as Devil May Cry, old school God of War, and stuff like that, where it was among the kings with true action, with character action. But after Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, it disappeared. There wasn't anything left. And I gotta say it, this feels so good to play. The moment I hit that first mission, and when things just clicked, that first stream where I had, when I was doing that one purgatory trial, everything clicked. That was the moment I loved the gameplay so much. You die! Oh! Oh! I want this on record that this game is hype as piss. A lot of Ninja Gaiden purists, I feel, are gonna be, I was saying this earlier, are gonna be, I would say, a bit divisive about this because, these games are not really extremely combo heavy. Like traditional action game combo heavy. It's more, you want to use stuff situationally because of how the game is designed. But with Platinum Games taking the reins this time, it feels more like a modernized version of what Ninja Gaiden is. But it's still difficult. Dude, when I started playing I want to say it's the second boss who uses the umbrella, I was stuck for about nearly 2 hours just fighting that boss. And I'm sure now if I go back to it with more experience under my belt, I'll probably nail it like in 1 or 2 tries. But man, this game does not mess around. It really does not mess around. But in regards to gameplay though, starting with Yakumo, he is very he is fun. He's a good way to get you started in terms of learning the game. Without spoiling anything, all of his weapons are very satisfying to use. I think it's like just his overall kit is very vast and it's very he has a lot to work with, so it's up to you. And honestly, there's no problem with sticking to one weapon when playing as him. It's sure there's like stuff that can be very situational, like the hammer and things like that. But you could really just stick to the swords the whole time and you'll be fine. There's a lot of good every weapon has their own screen clear, every weapon has their own like vertical chop move, dashing and move. It's cleverly designed in such a way that you could stick with one weapon if you really wanted to. But yeah, Yakumo in general is the Nero equivalent to this game. It's so funny how this game is, you know, with the same number and everything. Hang on, if I just pull it out right here. These two games have so much in common with each other, it's so funny. It really is. The fact that, you know, it does the dual protagonist thing, because I'm segmenting to Ryu stuff now. With the dual protagonist thing, with how the level is designed, and the same complaint that you hear from critics, saying like, oh, you just run through the same levels at some point with a different character, but at least you're not going through the game fucking backwards. Well, you do a little bit, but not much. But that leads me to talking about Ryu for a little bit. When you eventually get to Ryu, he isn't as gameplay heavy as Yakumo is, because I feel like, in my opinion, when I started playing as Ryu, it honestly started feeling like OG Ninja Gaiden. It started to bring back those memories of playing Sigma on the PS3, just because, sure, he does have combo, but listen, hear me out. It does feel like you're playing OG Ninja Gaiden because everything he does hits really hard, and I would say you have to commit to everything you do a lot more compared to Yakumo, otherwise you die. There have been moments in Ryu's chapters where I mess up one thing, I'm dead. With Yakumo, you're playing a sort of Platinum Games take on Ninja Gaiden, but when you're playing as Ryu, you're playing OG Ninja Gaiden to an extent. And I actually like that. I might be the only one that sees it that way, but I think it's a good balance. But the one complaint I do have about the gameplay is that just two things. One, Ryu does not get enough missions. I think starting from chapter 15, he only got 4, about 3 to 4, compared to Yakumo, who gets all the others. But my criticism was immediately corrected when I just found out that you could replay every single mission as Ryu in the game after you clear it, which is God tier stuff. That is something I wish Devil May Cry 5 had, where you could play as every character in any mission after beating the game. I wish it had that. It was something that the modding community did with the Divergence mod, where you could say you could play as V in Mission 1 if you really wanted to. And it would have offered the game more replayability, but it never had that. And that was always the one thing about DMC5 that I wish it had. It had multiplayer in it, for God's sake. But I digress. It's still my favorite game of all time. I'm not gonna dissuade it. But in comparison to that, Ninja Gaiden 4 does up Devil May Cry 5 in that aspect, where I much prefer playing as Ryu in this game. And I'm glad I can do that if I really want to, by playing every mission as him if I really wanted to. Which is awesome. Chef's kiss to that. It helps a lot with replayability, and for people who prefer playing as one character or the other. Because also for completionists, if you really want to, you could probably just triple S every single mission as either character. Which is amazing. So the replayability is nailed down to a teeth. However, I think Ryu definitely would have been better if he had more weapons. And while I love using the Dragon Sword, it is a bit criminal that compared to the other games, he doesn't have Scythe, he doesn't have Nunchucks, Tonfa's, staff, nothing. He doesn't have any of that. Yakumo got that instead. So they kind of were more treating your boy Yakumo with all the blessed weapons and stuff, but it was nice that they gave Ryu his Ninpo stuff from the other games. Black Hole became my favorite move, and I would say Black Hole every time I did it. Such an amazing screen clear move, it was so fun. God, what else? Because I could keep talking about the gameplay forever. The music, spot on. I definitely need to listen to a lot of the music now that we cleared it, especially the final boss theme. I was so locked in that I could not concentrate to listen to that. But no, the music was great. The fact that Victor Borba is getting more work as the games come out is honestly so funny. The fact I've been hearing him in all the games I'm playing this year with Expedition 33 and now this, is hilarious to me. But it's like Mick Gordon. Give the man more work. He deserves it. I think also the story, you know, it's a Ninja Gaiden game. If you're trying to play Ninja Gaiden for the story, you're not going to get a whole lot out of it. It's more, the story that happens here is very serviceable, but it serves its purpose. It's fine. It's really on the same level as all the others. It's fine. It's nothing to write home about, but there are moments that help push the gameplay forward that does its job, and that's as best as I can say about it. But in terms of, like, you know, what happens, it was nice they did the things that they did with Yakumo and all that, and sure, I'd have to... Yakumo was a bit of an edgelord in some bits, but that didn't... From what I've heard in the English dub, he is way more edgy. But man, just having a proper game, giving you a proper challenge in this day and age is hard to come by. That does not handhold you. And again, looping back to the gameplay, I loved, story-wise, the game was teaching you how the game worked in the prologue, and they made sure you could not die in the prologue, and that was the only bit of hand-holding there was. And then when the first chapter started, alright, have fun, idiot. Loved that. Absolutely love that. I feel like too many games come out nowadays that handhold you to a teeth in terms of stuff. But I'm glad this just dropped you in after the prologue, and I was like, alright, hope you figured it out, hope you were paying attention, have fun. And man, did I feel it. So did I feel it. After completing this, I really... This is up there, man. Seriously. This game is up there. The more I think about it, I gotta make a top 10 list of favorite action games, because this would be up there. I will tell you, this is not beating Devil May Cry 5, but damn, it's up there. This is up there by... this is up on a pedestal for me with DMC5, with Hi-Fi Rush, with God Hand, and a few others. This is up there. And I know, like, that's a lot coming from me, but this is the best praise I can give it. It's so much fun. I think they nailed it. And also the fact that I think after that whole thing was going on with Kamiya leaving Platinum Games, and all this stuff was going on about how Platinum might be going down the pisser, especially when now Kamiya is working with Capcom again, and, you know, Platinum was looking really iffy, making these online only titles for so long we didn't know what the hell they were making, and then all of a sudden they come out with this, and the fact that Platinum was willing to work with Xbox again after the Scalebound incident is incredible to me. I think this is proof that they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing without Kamiya and all the other people that Kamiya took with him. I think there's still a few good people left that know how to make proper action games there. It's that multitude of talent that I'm glad is still around. I think, honestly, if I were to give this, like, a proper rating, I think just because, you know, if I were to be critical about it, this is definitely an 8 out of 10. And I only give it an 8 out of 10 just because I just feel like Ryu should have had more missions. They could have easily made separate missions for Ryu, but he does fight the same bosses again. He does go through the same stuff as Yakumo does in his own missions. It is the same. It's not much different. If Ryu actually got his own proper missions with different bosses, then this would have easily matched my own personal rating of a 9. But yeah, I'm just trying to think of other stuff. There was so much. I think overall Itagaki would be... I think he would be very proud of this. I think he would. It's such a shame that he died before this came out, so he could have, you know, seen it. I mean, I hope I hope he at least got to see this before he died. I think he would have loved it. His whole ideology of, you know, oh, is this bit hard? Alright, I don't think it's hard enough. I think they got it with this. There were actually some bits in this game where I felt that. The bit in the ravine where if you fell, you had to deal with that humongous bit of enemies that did not stop. Where if you fell, you had to deal with that, or you could just do a little jumping puzzle to avoid it. That was such a classic Ninja Gaiden moment. That felt like old school Ninja Gaiden to me, where, you know, you could skip it if you're good with jumping. If you're not, have fun dealing with that down there. Yeah, dude, this did a lot of things for me, and I, much like Hi-Fi Rush, I needed a new proper action game. I was feeding. That was the one thing I said when me and Nick first saw this at that Xbox showcase thing. I was like, we need more action games in this day and age. Not enough come out. I'm fuming for more. Fuming! God damn. Yeah, so anyway, to wrap it up, my critical rating is an 8, but my personal is a 9. It's so much fun. So much fun. Only just some slight little things that did annoy me, but the overall balance of the game is fine-tuned to where it feels fair. It has the old-school Ninja Gaiden repertoire of where enemies can do almost exactly what you do, so you have to be aware and watch out for tells everywhere, and it does not hold your hand, which I very much appreciate. That is something that should be done more in this day and age, and I respect that. But yes, if any of you are thinking of getting this, or you want a proper gaming like action challenge, I highly recommend it. I also think, just like DMC4, this is probably the most entry barrier friendly Ninja Gaiden game. Because it's new, and people probably just getting into it will probably get into this one. Because I won't lie, the older ones are plagued with some old bullshit. Not everyone's gonna drive with that. But anyway, yeah, that's how I feel about Ninja Gaiden 4. So much goddamn fun. So much goddamn fun.